Perfect.
Potato.
And potato.
I'd sell.
That was fun.
Between children and microphones, we've had the time.
Quite the time. Hello.
Hello. I have so many tabs open. Hold on. Don't know what I'm even trying to find where you are and where the notes are. There we go. I'm looking at my website right now. There you are.
Hello.
Oh.
I reckon I got
Distracted
more tabs
fun
open
is the
than
first thing on the list. Need a script to count how many tabs we have open.
Hello. Happy weekend, almost. Are you about to hit your weekend?
Yeah, same. Yep, pretty much. What's up with you?
How was your week?
Pretty good. We got a bunch of job shop work done, which is, I think, 3 projects finished this week, which is a lot for us, as we barely do 3 of those a month anymore. And one was super easy. Another was kind of a long-term project that kind of took a while. And then the one that's probably most notable is tiny little wood card holders. And they're supposed to hold kind of like business cards. Yeah.
They were cool.
I knew they'd be a little tricky because they have like an angled 2.5D basically with some like fillets around the top that I ball milled. And then when you flipped it over, you had a pretty severe chopped off angle on the bottom. And it was arbitrary too. I think it was like 59.26 or something degrees. So it's like you couldn't like use like a chamfer tool, and there was 25 parts. So I was like, I'm not going to order a custom tool really. And so our theory was the first theory when I quoted it was, let's make a vacuum pocket that's the right angle and machine the crap out of that pocket so it's like perfect, like a second side fixture on the router, and then just put one in at a time, maybe 2, I don't really know, go through them. And then when I started talking about it, it was like, let's just try and 3D print one first. Like the failure potential, like it was so easy to fail quickly and for about 50 cents. And so we did it, and the first one worked, and we were like, okay, I guess this is what we're doing. Like there was like no dialing in the fixture basically. The only thing we couldn't really do super well, which is just kind of like how I feel like we end up without having super high quality fixturing and like indicating with like offset gauges and stuff, is to like, we couldn't really do the fillets on the backside. So we just faced it to the right thickness and then hand filleted with sanding because we had to do finishing too. So it was pretty effective. I was pretty surprised all around because it's just PLA and it's pretty low infill too, because I thought it wasn't going to work.
Yeah. So did you just friction fit it in? Was there any like hole and clamping mechanism, or you just stuck it in and went for it?
The big fail was that I don't know how you think about these kind of like vacuum type fixtures. I designed it to go on our fixture plate, which has like a 4-inch grid of holes that are like,
oh wow,
what's 5/16?
So you're pulling vacuum through it?
Yes. So it's about 8 millimeter through holes on a 4-inch grid, so 100 mil grid. And we've had this fixture forever, like 5 years now, that I had an early employee make, and it's been such a savior for us. And so you can pull the vacuum through those holes. And I accidentally designed, Ricky actually did almost all the fixture design, and then I came in at the end and kind of like tweaked some stuff and the 3D printed thing. And I didn't realize that I was only pulling the vacuum through one 8 millimeter hole for this whole like part that's fairly, significantly larger. So it wasn't enough flow. So when you would pull it in Y negative, it would just basically like pull straight out without like, it was probably under 5 pounds of force, super lightweight, but we just cut left and right in X and it was fine.
Sick. That's awesome.
Didn't vibrate.
You don't have like a dedicated vacuum pump for that fixture, do you? You're just using your like hair dryers.
Yep, the hair dryers.
Wow.
That's on my list of experiments at some point, is to try to get some type of dedicated pump because that only, I don't know what, I think you're probably in what bar, it's 10 PSI of force that we can pull. So it's not very strong, even at the maximum like pull force.
It's designed for large
I just didn't think it
areas.
was going to hold down. Yeah, right. Higher flow rate, lower pressure.
Yeah.
So yeah, it
Wild.
didn't
That's
make
cool.
sense. I think it really worked in that we used a down cutter. I took really light, like high feed rate cuts on it instead of trying to like really engage hard, like just kind of nibbled away, and had a really accurate stock. My experience with doing kind of mill work with continue rest machining setups.
Yep.
I made a single part. And so it was super accurate in terms, it would come in and basically not air cut at all, which is super cool. Like
Rad.
it came straight in and just hit straight on the top. So we went from a kind of rough first test of one part, took 14 minutes, and we got it down to doing 2 of those fixtures. We printed another one, and it would take under 5 minutes to do 2 of them on the second side.
Good.
It was cool, super cool. I made a longer video for the patrons of the show.
Great.
I'll link it here.
Sweet.
Kind of talking
Check
through
out.
it.
If I can. Am I a patron? I think I can access that.
I think you can access it. I hope.
I want to see it. That's cool. Yeah. Inspiring.
Yeah, it's. I didn't really know if people would find it interesting, but it's got a ton of like engagement in terms of like on Instagram shares and stuff.
Yeah. Great. Nice.
Anyway, that
I've
was
had
kind of my
a-
excitement for the week.
Yeah, I've had a fun week getting distracted by the machines with Johnny away.
Yeah.
And I thought I wasn't going to be pulled out into the machining land too much, but I couldn't help myself. Just like found myself drawn out there, set up my computer on his desk and fiddled
Fiddle.
fiddled around, and it was great fun. Cut some things that needed to be cut, but had a very distracted week, kind of as I always do when I get a chance to cover for someone else, just noticing all the little things. Like, oh, that'd be nice if that didn't happen like that, or why is dust escaping out of the back of the enclosure there? And it's just like this little rabbit hole of all different like.
Got some Flex Seal out.
I'll play that. But I think the big win from the week really was seemingly fixing the USB errors on the pencil sharpener, which is huge.
I know, that seemed amazing.
With 2
Like
like
gone.
20-cent diodes, seems to be just gone. I've only had a day and a half of production since I did it, but that's with no USB errors, but that's pretty significant already. Because it was just
Johnny
really
will come back
hit
here
and
like,
miss.
it's fixed. And then it comes back.
He'll look at it wrong. I'll error out. But yeah, it was kind of like that. It was so intermittent previously. It's like it'd be running for an hour, and then if you just like happen to look at the machine, and then the USB error would go blip. Anyway, so we haven't had a single one since I put the 2 little flyback diodes over the 24-volt contacts that turn the Makita spindles on and off. And that seems to have arrested all the, whatever it is, backflow EMF voodoo that was happening as the Makitas turned off and causing like interference with the control. And I realized I was chatting to Rowan about it after I'd done it. I was like, touch wood, this seems to be working. He was asking about it, and I said, oh, well, I ordered these diodes like over a year ago. They've been sitting in a drawer. So I thought about it, obviously, some time ago, and it's taken me that long to actually patch them in. But one of those things, hey.
Well, I mean, it's done. It's working though. Like,
seems to be working.
Can't complain now, I guess.
Yeah, pretty happy. Very
So
happy.
like every day,
Very frustrated.
what was
Took
the
me that long.
alternative? Like you would end up just restarting the thing, or like what was the how bad was it?
It was still, John's workstation is right in front of the pencil sharpener, so it would stop mid-cycle, turn around, load a clear chuck program, clear the chucks, load the program that you were
yeah.
working on, reset the stock, press go. So it didn't take very long, but it was just quite disruptive. And at its worst would happen, every 10 minutes.
Did it waste material too, or did you just recut?
No,
basically?
rarely. It would just sort of just wig out because it would have finished an operation. The spindles would have just turned off and then it would just stall.
Yeah.
So yeah. That was fun. Company. Awesome. Yeah. No, that was my week. Just tinkering and not doing enough quotes and just fiddling with machines, but it was great fun.
Right.
Great fun.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah, if you can't do that, then what's it worth? I did a lot of those kind of like quick fix things this week. I put like a door stop on the bathroom door because I had 3D printed one. It started to like peel up the wood at the bottom of the door. I was like, oh, cool. I made this 3D printed solution. And it was like every time you'd pull it apart, it would like pull the door veneer off. I was like, all right. So I ordered a new little door kick and threw it on there. And I was like, I probably should have done this. $10. I should have done this like 2 years ago. A lot of other little small things. But there's a few things that have been kind of frustratingly. I mean, we've had some better sales probably the last few weeks. And that always means like, you go from kind of your normal to consuming more of the things in your shop and thus like not being used to having to order things as much in my situation where like we try not to keep a bunch of extra material and stuff on hand and then we like ran out of HDPE, which we make a decent amount of like dust boot specific things and pedestal parts from and I was like, we ran out? What do you mean we ran out? And like, what we thought about is like, well, there's no Kanban card for that sitting around. Like, where would you keep it? Where do you keep a Kanban card for an HDPE sheet that's like, it's not a stack. It's like usually 2 sheets.
Yeah.
So I don't have a solution yet for that, but I was thinking of some kind of like interesting little like status toggle thing, but then that's so disconnected from like Airtable where you could like, I don't know where. I hate anything that's physical that I can't like check when I'm not there because I'm not at the shop for a third of the week usually. So
I mean, is it that stock is presumably used for making very specific parts? Yeah. Can you trigger that based on sales of said parts? Maybe,
probably,
roughly.
I remember Saunders talking about this a while back, where like. I guess we kind of treat it like, I don't know if the right word is like a pull mechanism where we don't keep track of the raw material of like sticks of aluminum or HDPE or like even like a decent, like all the screws and stuff that go to things. It's just, when you get down to a certain amount, then we update the status to reorder. And I basically can do it like the next day. But I suppose at some point that makes sense, but it does also feel like you just end up working on like counting and all those systems are always wrong then. Like if you happen to have a refund, then the count of screws is off. And it's like who's going to spend the time to count all the screws every time so that it's not pulled right? I don't know.
Yes.
For me, it's always made sense to just like, are there about 30 left? So let's reorder those, like look in the bin and that's not enough for next week, Lazy pull system.
A lazy pull. Yeah, I don't know what the fix for that is.
Probably just finding a way to keep a card. Those are pretty freaking effective. I don't know how much you guys do that kind of stuff where I made some like pretty basic bright green cards that we write on and put a sticker on. And then it's honestly just for the person that grabs it so that they can get it to their computer and update the Airtable status. Like we don't do anything else with them, but they're pretty dang effective.
I don't know, that's cool. Recently looking for a spare keyboard, I came across our barcode scanner that had been retired at some point and put in a box of used electronics. And I had a little sad moment of going, oh, it's my like QR scanner that all my Airtable dreams crushed in this little box.
I just bought one actually.
Because we'd gone to a lot of trouble at one point to like put QR codes on all like commonly used hardware and inventory, and you could scan it.
Oh wow!
And update the Airtable status, which would trigger a reorder, and just no one used it. It just fell back to the same old thing of like someone would pick up the thing, would run out of, take a photo of it, and post it to Slack. It's like that behavior just
Slack.
persisted.
Oh, the Slack.
And the barcode dreams died, unfortunately, but couldn't help myself. I had to plug it back in and go, you can just sit there.
Don't touch.
Wait until it's your job.
Right. I don't know exactly how it's going to work, but we'll try it. And I have another little project that we're working on that I need to try it out with. So I don't know. I've always thought it would be useful. I mean, it took me, I said it here, but it took 5 years before basically any employee to have any interest in QR codes. And then when it hit, finally, right. He was like, it can do what? And I was like, yes, I know. I got through to somebody finally. Saunders just mentioned this, but I watched it. There's a Veritasium, I think that's how you say it, QR code video that's pretty interesting. And it's,
you sent that to me.
I think more interesting than anything is just that the guy that created QR codes is still alive and can talk incredibly coherently about its intentionality, and like you can kind of read them in terms of positioning and what their use is, and like how much of the data can be missing and how much it's replicated, and like trying to do new things with it that's like super, like put way more data in than currently is available.
Sick. I'll check that out.
It's very nerdy.
I like it.
Yes. I watched it.
I was going to say something on that. It's gone.
Oh, on an somewhat related note, I think it was Easton of Moria Manufacturing had posted a while back about using NFC tags, and that you could, I had played around with them years back, and either I missed this or I didn't get the right kind, but you can store data in an NFC tag. I always thought they were just like a trigger.
Me too.
And it's still fairly limited. Like I think it's in the kilobytes, but like you can have messages, you can have maybe even images. I'm not really sure, but I always thought that like, because I would try to make some and then I couldn't even share them unless you had like the same iOS shortcut that would basically run off that trigger. But apparently you can do more. So there's kind of a related thing you could do with them if you were really, that seems way more complicated to me to make a system from.
I've got friends with multicams actually who have barcode scanners plugged straight into their control. And so they can, for common production programs, the operator can just go blip and it loads the
I think I've seen that before.
Hit cycle start and off they go, which I really like that idea. Just being not having to have an operator like toggle through buttons on the stupid controller and find the right program, and they can just go bing, press go.
So then it's not using that little handheld, or they have a different type of controller?
Yeah, it's still got the little handheld thing, but they've also plugged a barcode scanner into their control board, I guess, as a way of selecting files. Which is cool. Speaking of multicam, the prompt last week did prompt me to start a little support group. So thanks for that.
I saw that.
There's now 18 of us, I think.
Whoa! I thought it was going to be like 3.
It started off with 3. I was like, oh, this is fun. These are the people I was talking to anyway about things. But yeah, there's now 19 members, which is awesome.
Cool.
And
anything helpful so far, or just like everybody saying, hey, what's...
No, lots of, some gold coming out of the woodwork already. I knew Mr. Richard Blackwell would be sitting on plenty of gold, and that's proved true. But yeah, just great to have a whole bunch of different operators from different life, I suppose, or different backgrounds sort of chipping in with things. So yeah, I'll put the link in the show notes here again. If you run an Australian multicam,
I'll join as a usurper.
But yeah, some really interesting stuff. It's cool.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, that'd be useful. I'm glad there's something there.
It's awesome. I don't know if WhatsApp's the right platform because, if you join now, you won't be able to see anything that's been discussed to date. So it's kind of there's a bit of a
lot of that
loss of data there, which is kind of annoying. There might be maybe it's better placed on Reddit, but kind of want it to be accessible and just easy. Everyone seems to have WhatsApp.
It feels like the new wave is everybody's doing a Discord, but I also find that it has a similar, truthfully, I feel like what would be the best case is if somebody recreated forums usefully. I think Facebook groups are used often too, but it's required to. Sorry, my Roomba is currently sucking itself out. I don't know if you can hear that.
I can't barely hear it. Yeah, I thought about Discord as well. I find, maybe I'm just too old, I found Discord a bit overwhelming. I'm part of a few communities there, and there's just a bajillion notifications, unread notifications now, and it's probably a good option, but I find it a bit much personally.
Yeah, sure. Right. I can never, my old manism about Discord is I like to use it for chat. I find it to be absurd to use as trying to find something from the past thing. Same with Slack. None of those are any good.
Same with Slack. Yeah.
It's not a good repository of anything, but I can never find when I get tagged where the hell I'm tagged at. Somebody will just tag me in some big one, hey, Justin said this, and I have to scroll up and down carefully, oh, I missed it. It's just
yeah.
I can never find where the hell it is. I don't know why that's is it a me thing or is it just everybody has that problem?
No, I think that's an issue with the platform.
Well, our generation anyway.
Yeah, maybe.
Got to put my spectacles on first.
I just saw your markup to my insurance notes. Very nice.
Yes. You like that? But that's what completed in my head.
Yeah, okay. Just to follow up to my profit versus distribution percentages issue that we chatted about recently, where I think both of us had insurance bills due, possibly in the same week.
Yes.
And I definitely did not have the accumulation that I needed to pay my annual insurance of around 20K, I think it was in the end, once things were reassessed. And so, I think as I said last time, I basically took out a loan to pay that for over the next 12 months. Is the way it was structured.
Through the company, they kind of self-finance?
No, it was through a third party. It was oh, you want to pay monthly? Here, fill out this form. And I was like, that's just a loan, but sure, okay, I'll do it this 12 months and then restructure.
Yeah. It's good.
So, yeah. But yeah, I did not have I think, my OPEX account is often the one that tends to accumulate, and that's because things like insurance are technically part of that OPEX account, which is why it tends to sit a little bit higher than the other accounts. But I think, I really need to set up
a dedicated
one. Yeah.
It is really shocking for my experience of owning a business for far too long now to see these other accounts that the way that they're set up is they get hidden basically on Mercury underneath the fold of where my accounts show on the main page. So I see income, OPEX, owner draw amount, maybe one other, lease roll, which is my lease and payroll. And then everything else gets hidden. So then when I go and I just did distribution this week and it shockingly has so much more money sitting in those accounts than I was mentally
wow, cool.
aware of. And I was like, oh my God, I have all this money in tax and profit, and this is amazing.
Great. It's so good. But most of the time that's hidden. Interesting.
Yeah, like all the time I have to like unfold it basically, or click on it and then see, because now there's like, 9 accounts or something, where I started with like 4 or 5.
Yeah. That's cool. I
guess we should do this.
And now it's profit time.
Oh, sorry, you go.
Urban horse trailer time lag problems.
Yeah.
On my Q3 distribution, I think, what's his name? Mike calls it AIM, or it's like I'm using a bastardized version of the sheet you made, and it's AIM is like what your yearly income AIM is after tax. And so it's basically set on last year's for me. Like what we did last year is like, which is maybe a bad system. I should probably have it pointed up, but I don't remember exactly how that calculation happened. But we were at 96% of our AIM from last year. And I guess for that to be pretty good,
right.
Q3, considering we had one client that was basically half of our job shop revenue, we didn't have any income from this year. So we've almost completely, I think we have 75% more product revenue than last year at this time, which is kind of crazy.
That's awesome.
68%.
I mean, yeah,
68%.
The percentage is great.
Yeah.
That's cool. I think we're sitting at Q3. I can't tell. I haven't done that and separated out quarters, but certainly since the 1st of July, which is our Q whatever, something, I don't know, that quarter.
It gets me every time. I'm like, quarters. What's the quarter?
Is sitting over target, which is awesome by a little bit, by a few percent, which is rad.
Yeah.
And since we started Profit First on, 1st of March this year, I was sitting at sort of 91% of target, which I'm also super stoked about.
That's pretty good. Right.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to have a full year of Profit First, because it's already in the 2 distributions I've had of our quarterly, because like you take the profit and you're supposed to distribute 100% of it to yourself as the owner. And I've done about 40 or 50%, which is pretty nice. And then the other part I pay towards debt. And he also recommends that too. It's like giving. So both of those things feel amazing, because it's like otherwise you're just paying your normal amount of debt, and then, your normal payroll, pay to yourself or whatever if you do that kind of normally. And it's like, oh my God, yes. Both of those things were well received.
Yeah, so good. I've lost you again. Where are you? Justin's open here somewhere.
Hiding.
There he is.
There's only really one other. It's probably going to be a little shorter today, since we both have weird timing here. There was I think I follow Machinery Max. Sorry, my dog is... Can you lay down? This is so chaotic here. I'm used to my like isolated office. I don't think there's any bids on it. There's reposted the story of a Fanuc M900 IB-700 doing some like cool cutting moves. It's a pretty large robot.
That big robot.
And
I spoon.
I finally looked it up. Did you happen to do any other?
No.
I probably not. So it's on this company or this website called Machinery Max, which I've been to before. I think my friend Chester told me about it. It is a robotic work cell as part of one. It's a large Fanuc robot. It's got an HSK spindle on it. It's got a bunch of tooling.
Ooh,
but it
beautiful.
is $420,000 currently. And I do not understand who thinks that's worth it. It's like, I get there's businesses where there's a good like revenue that could be made from this kind of machine, but that's like 5-axis, like high precision cell automation.
It's got some interesting stuff going on. I mean, it's got a tool changer. It's got that rotary axis as well.
Right.
Yeah. Also, and it's got like that lathe off to the left. There's a lot going on there. It's not just a robot
Right.
arm. It's
Right.
got that 4th axis setup and the trunnion and the tool changer.
Yeah,
I can see
for
like
sure.
a university buying something like that in their advanced, manufacturing.
Right. I suppose
Wow.
so. It for a used cell from, I think it's a 20. It's not
it's
new
used,
by any
right.
means.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a whole used cell you have to move off of an island in Washington. and the transaction fee is 15% for the auctioneer.
Yeah.
$63 more thousand dollars.
I'd take one of those, but not for that much money.
Mm.
It's cool.
Yeah. Pretty wild.
Current price.
Anyway, there's a link to it. I don't know how long that'll be live, but the price hasn't changed since I looked at it like earlier this week. So I don't know if anybody's bid on it yet.
I don't think so. Not a bidding war on it just yet.
No.
Pretty cool.
No.
Pretty cool. That looks like a university project to me.
How the hell's that?
Not a project, but like some talented technician has put that together. Because of that,
you think about like
serious R&D lab, not production sort of stuff.
Think about I forget what's the account in the guy in Australia that's got the amazing like tracked
Twig
tool
and
changing rope. Twig and Bot. I always forget his name. That thing's the value of that thing's worth.
Well, indeed, yeah. That thing's rad. I was watching the video of it tool changing between spindle and chainsaw the other day. Like, so cool. It's the best thing ever.
Every time I just stop and stare, I'm like, oh, yes, that's perfect. Well, I believe I have to
Good
go.
plans.
Sorry, it's a little short
Okay.
today.
All good. Off you pop.
Mm-hmm. You hear my
Thanks for
little one
tuning in.
smashing away at some toys in the other room?
No.
It sounds like he's just got like a fake hammer and he's just bashing his toy bin. She doesn't have a hammer.
Needs a hammer.
Anyway, have a good rest of your
Cool.
weekend.
Thanks. See you too. Happy weekend.
Bye.
Bye.
That might be up there for our most chaotic episode. Okay. I gotta go.
We've
I gotta
had more.
run. Sorry.
Cool. Bye.
Bye.
See ya.